Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about another reasonably inexpensive Chinese pen. This pen is made by Jinhao, and this is the model 156. You don't see too much written about this pen compared to some of the other pens like the 992, the 159, the 450, the 750. There's a lot of Jinhaos that get a lot of attention. This one does not. And interestingly enough, this pen might actually have my favorite clip of any pen at any price. And this pen cost $4.95. So it's an inexpensive Chinese pen, and it's got a fantastic clip. The material is, it's pretty much a metal pen. It's a decently heavy pen, 37 grams. The material is meant to look like a layered lacquer with a gloss finish. I doubt that it's an actual lacquer finish given the price that this pen sells at, but the material looks fantastic. It really looks good. If I had to guess how this pen was made, and this is purely a guess, I have no necessary information about this, is that it's probably a heat shrunk plastic coating. But again, that would literally just be a guess, but it's got a really good, nice, smooth feel to it. It's a thick coating on it. It's got what it looks like many layers of red and black going on here. It's actually quite a really nice looking material. The clip is my favorite part of the pen. It's got a spring clip. The clip comes around and above the top of the pen and loops around with the spring. And it's got this arch effect to the clip, very much reminiscent of clips on a Visconti. Unlike the Visconti clip though, because of the way the end of this clip is set up, you can actually just slide that onto a shirt pocket or the pocket of a shirt, etc. You don't have to sort of pinch and grab and open like you do with the Visconti. So this is really a well-designed clip. And like I said, this might be my favorite clip of any pen at any price point. I really like this clip quite a bit. The end of the pen, end of the barrel is nothing special. It just comes to a smooth point at the end. The cap band is also chrome to match the clip, and it says Jinhao and then 156 etched around the side of the cap band. It is a slip cap to open. It opens quite easily, but it does stay on fairly securely. I've never had this come apart in a shirt pocket or anything like that. The pen posts. It posts relatively securely, but on any pen like this where it's a very smooth plastic and you have a plastic inner liner, which you do here, you do have this notion that it's sort of a smooth plastic on smooth plastic feel. So it is secure, but it's not the most secure posting that I've ever seen, and that's really just because it's sort of this plastic on plastic thing going on. But other than that, it's no real complaints there. The nib is a standard Jinhao number 5 steel nib that they're calling a fine. One thing I noticed when I started buying these inexpensive Chinese pens, I had flow problems with a lot of them when I first got them. What I do now invariably is when I get the pen, before I even ink it up for the first time, I pull the nib and the feed out, and they're all friction fit for the most part, with the exception of things like where you have a wraparound nib or a hooded nib, etc. But all these sort of traditional style nibs and feeds on the inexpensive Chinese pens are universally friction fit. I pull them out, I clean the nib and feed with some warm water and a tiny bit of dish soap, rinse it out well, dry it, put it back in, and I have not had any problems since. So as a tip would be, if you're buying these inexpensive pens, be they the Jinhaos, the Wing Sungs, the Dukes, the Heroes, etc., that you go through that little 1-minute procedure before you ink it up for the first time, and I think you'll have very good results. The nib is nicely decorated. It has some little scroll work on the end that's sort of in a somewhat Greek style, an ordinary round breather hole. It has the little Jinhao chariot logo, which looks quite nice. It says Jinhao and then an F for fine. So it's pretty much got almost every bit of the nib surface is decorated or has some indicia on it of some sort. The feed is quite, the section is quite nice. It's plain black plastic. This step down here is not too bad at all, and it fits quite nicely in the hand, either posted or unposted. But I like to post all my pens. In terms of size comparison, let's do that right now. Here's our Jinhao, and here's how it compares to a Lamy Safari, and here's how it compares to a Pilot Metropolitan. So you can see it's pretty much spot on size-wise with these very popular pens. So you're probably wondering how this pen writes. Let's find out right now. Okay, what we're writing with here today is a Jinhao 156, and this is a fine nib, and it's on the thicker side of fine for a Chinese nib. They tend to run a little bit finer, but it's definitely not a medium. Calling it a fine is quite accurate. It's not the wettest pen in the world. It's a little bit on the dry side. There are adjustments that you can make to that, which again, on a pen on this price range, it wouldn't be that unreasonable to attempt to adjust it yourself. The pen writes quite smoothly, writes quite nicely, lays down a pretty reliable line. I like it quite a bit, and like I said earlier, it's really important for these inexpensive Chinese pens I found at least, to remove the nib and feed straight out when you first get it, clean them well, put it back in, and then that'll really address a lot of flow problems that at least I was having on various of these type of pens when I first got them. But this is a standard Jinhao number 5 nib. You find this nib on a lot of different pens, and generally it's written pretty well. This ink here is Iroshizuku Yama-Budo. This is basically a wine-colored ink. That's basically the best way to describe it. It's pretty dark. It's a fairly dry writing ink, coupled with the fact that this pen is a pretty dry pen. As you can see, it really is pretty dry. But the color is great. There's a lot going. I just find a lot going on with this color. You look at it and it's just a very pleasant color to look at. In theory, there is sheen with this ink. Like if you use this on certain papers and you get it just the right angle and you get just the right amount of wetness, there's a little bit of gold sheen going on. But I would not necessarily just run out and buy this if you want a gold sheening ink, because you might be disappointed. If you like the wine color, which I do quite a bit, it's great, but just be warned that I wouldn't exactly categorize this among the great sheening inks of all time, because that's clearly not what it is. But there is, in theory, and again, if you look at it with the right paper, right angle, right amount of wetness, etc., you can get a little bit of a gold sheen going on. Like all Iroshizuku inks, it comes in this really nice bottle. These inks used to be a lot more expensive. My understanding was that these bottles were originally hand-blown glass, and then Pilot came out with a means of mass producing the bottles, and thus the cost of the ink went down within the last year or two. But these are pretty nice bottles. The one complaint, though, that I found with these Iroshizuku bottles is the cap. They could get stuck. I guess it's something about the way the ink dries inside the cap. So 2 tips. After you fill your pen, give a wipe around the rim before you put the cap back on. And if the cap does get stuck, you run a little warm water around the edge here, and that'll loosen it up quite easily. But they are really, really nice bottles. They do a really nice job. They have this little point at the bottom, so you can get your pen all the way down there when you get to the end. So it's quite nice. So there you have it. That is our Jinhao 156. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a comment, or even better, subscribe to the channel. We will be back with some more pens in subsequent videos, and until then, bye-bye.